Hey Anna, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Kayo. Very nice to see you again.
Excellent. How's your day been so far?
It's been going okay. I'm actually a little bit sick. But this meeting, like meeting you for a podcast really gave me some power.
Excellent. Well, I hope you do start to feel better soon. Yeah. So let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, Anna.
Okay, so my name is Anna Scheer, and what I do is I'm an educator. I love to educate people and support and empower them through knowledge. So my primary job has been an art educator. So I was working with kids and students and also grown-ups. And now these days I'm a sex educator. I am certified as a body sex coach. And I basically teach women how to have more pleasure in their bodies and how to get a better connection to their bodies through self-love and various practices, and teaching them actually really how to make this body work to have orgasms.
Right. So, when you think back to before you started as a sex educator, like what was your kind of journey and your process into that moment when you decided that is what you wanted to do going forward? What was kind of going through your mind when you made that decision to be a sex educator?
Well, it's a bit of a journey. So basically, I became a mother when I was 26. And before then, I worked as an artist, doing all sorts of jobs. But being a mother, that wasn't working very well because the time schedule just didn't fit growing up a child. So I decided to study again, and I did an MA in arts education. During my education or my studies, I found out about sex education. And from that moment, I was kind of hooked because I was like, this is a very interesting topic. It makes so much sense to combine it also with the arts. Because if you think of an image and you put an image into arts education, you can immediately talk about relationships, about intimacy, all of these kind of topics. It's very easy to kind of combine the two. And then I wrote my master's thesis on that topic of how to work in an interdisciplinary matter between art education and sex education. So that's when I started going into that topic and researching about it. And then during COVID, I moved to Tenerife, to Spain. And I didn't really want to work at a school. I wanted to do something different. And I was living in this beautiful volcanic island. And then I thought this would be the perfect place to bring women here and work with them on the body sex method. I found Body Sex via a Netflix series, which is called The Pleasure Is Ours, where basically Betty Dodson and Colin Ross came on and showed what it was all about. And I watched it, and Betty Dodson also was an artist. And somehow I also very much connected to her straightness. Like she's so direct. She doesn't make all these kind of many curves to talk around the subject. She just goes straight in. And she's also very much, her basis is education, which again fits for coming from an academic background. You're like, okay, this is built really well. You start with the anatomy and then through actually teaching the women how our body is wired for pleasure. You then support them in getting to know their body and then helping them. It's a bit like kind of learning how to cook, but somehow we're completely left alone with learning how to have a pleasurable sexuality and intimacy with ourselves and our partners.
Excellent. Now it's very interesting that you have a background in art education as well as sex education because sex itself is an art form. So I feel like there's a lot of synergy between the two things that you do there. And when we look at like relationships, we've all had different struggles in our previous relationships, and we navigate through those to get to where we are now. And you yourself helping people with their sex lives, you may have had struggles in your past as well. Would you say you've had any kind of like struggles with relationships? And if so, how did you navigate through those to get to where you are now?
So basically, I think we always teach what we need most ourselves. So I believe the root of building a relationship with other people is first having a relationship with ourselves that's loving. So I would say that's the basis. And that's where I kind of take the women that I work with. So it's a bit like kind of going back and saying, well, how is your relationship with yourself? How is relationship with your body? How is this relationship with your pleasure? And if you have a good foundation in knowing yourself, understanding your body, and then also from that place becoming confident and being able to communicate it to others, that's kind of where I pick up with working with people and also very much have kind of saved myself. So I have one of the blogs, for example, that I wrote, which is the best sex that I've had with myself. And it was very much kind of trying to describe of how learning about body sex has given me a way to not be missing the sex that I would maybe like in my life. Because if we're honest, how many times do we have sex which is, I don't know, kind of taking us to places where we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. So I very much had that pleasure when I was much, much younger. And then I was kind of longing for that experience. I don't say I just had bad sex afterwards, but it was kind of like this one person and our connection and the intimacy we shared, which was so special. And then learning about this method, I could bring myself to those places. So it's a bit like sometimes I keep on comparing it to food because we can have some McDonald's food, you know, and it's a quick, nourishing thing, and we're saturated. And then there's the 5 course meal, which you know is nicely prepared, has good ingredients, and we really, really, really enjoy it and we remember it. And I feel like this kind of method had brought me back the 5 course meal, but I could serve it myself. And that's, I think, also was one of my, how do you say, my activation or my power from where it came from that I really wanted to share it with other women because I was like, this is amazing. Like I can, and also it's different if you go out hungry or if you go out well fed. Like if you go out hungry, you're just gonna go for a quick bite maybe. But if you're well fed, you know, you can connect to people on a different level and you can like make good choices about who you actually want to engage with and who not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it can also change relationships. It's yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah, excellent, excellent. Now, keeping the comparison of like food that you was using, it takes time to prepare a good meal, right? And when it comes to people's relationships, it takes time to like harness a good relationship and a good sex life as well. So, a lot of people they don't have the kind of time to invest in their relationships and their sex life because they want to focus heavily on their career. So they tend to spend more time on their career and start to neglect their like intimate side and things like that for the sake of their career. But to the detriment of their sex life over time, there becomes a gap between themselves and their sexuality. And they don't know how to bridge that gap again because they focus so heavily on their career. So in your opinion, how can someone that's focused so heavily on their career start to bridge that gap again with their sex life?
so I think you said the really most important word, which is time. So devoting time to each other because there is no other way that we can keep building our relationship or investing in our relationship if we don't invest time into it. And I think we live in such a fast-paced world, and it's not just the work and the career; it's also the families that take a lot of time. You know, suddenly we are this team that does a great job in having a family and taking care for the kids, and you know, we're the best parents, but it doesn't mean that we are having a good relationship. So I think sometimes, as much as in my work, taking the priority for yourself in a relationship, taking the priority for the relationship to say, I am going to make time for this relationship. We are going to schedule a date. And also, I think one thing that comes very much into taking care for a relationship, but also in taking care about the sex life is communication. We don't stay the same over a long time. We change constantly. So I guess staying curious about the other person and keeping our ears open. But the other thing also about, especially in sex, we have to keep communicating, not believing that the sex that we had 20 years ago is still going to be the same right now. It might have changed a lot.
Right, right, right.
So that's where I would come in and saying, what is it actually you would like? I'm breaking up, or
No, you're back, you're back. Go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
I can see you. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So talking about what would you like? What is it that would feel intimate for you? Maybe it is not having sex. Maybe it is getting a foot massage or having a nice glass of wine. So I think it's really important to also check in with our partners what it is that we want at this moment and what would feel intimate, and not just to take it as a certain that it's always the same thing.
Right, yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, you mentioned people like change over time and like we don't necessarily stay the same. And so one of the issues that tend to come up in relationship is the issue of gender roles, like kind of expectations within relationships, like traditionally there'll be one person that tends to lead in the relationship and the other person chooses to follow. But some people may feel like I don't feel free in that kind of dynamic. I actually want more ability to navigate freely. And some people feel like, well, it's very natural to have gender roles and we complement each other in that way. So with that being said, what is your viewpoint on gender roles within relationships?
It's a difficult one in some ways because they always keep appearing, and in some ways they're natural. A man is generally speaking stronger than a woman. So, doing heavy lifting or maybe even, repairing things in the household can kind of, drop on a man, or earning all the money, which I would say has changed a lot, that the women have more independent and earn their own money in the relationships. But then again, for example, childcare is not something you get paid for. So it's a lot of the time, again, this is what women would do. How to navigate it? Again, I think communication, checking in, and somehow maybe not trying to repeat something that, I don't know, society, our parents, anybody else has lived for us, but rather than seeing what is right for us and where do we fit in, where don't we fit in. I had these conversations a lot with my husband where it just felt like we don't really believe in this kind of little family that is a father, a mother, and a daughter. We would like to expand that. And at some point, actually, we did open up our relationship. I don't think it all worked perfectly. Like, I'm going to be honest. I learned a lot from it. We made a lot of mistakes. But also, I think the very important thing was that taking care of your own needs. Like I was able to take care of my needs, and my needs were to open it up and to have relationships with other people, especially one person. But I also integrated that person into our relationship. Like that person wasn't an anonymous person, but he had a name and he had a face, and my husband knew him. And they were even friends, which was for me, I feel like that was one of the things where I say, okay, this has gone quite far, and it worked in some ways. But then again, just because that was also my experience, is it's very important to know that your partner has clear boundaries if you want to open up a relationship. If that's, for example, a thing in the relationship. But I feel like I've kind of gone off tangent.
No, at all, no, at all. That actually drives into my next topic as well, because a lot of people when they're in a relationship, they kind of wonder if there's different dynamic for them that's more suitable for them. The example that the what you were speaking about opening your relationship, other people are thinking the same thing, whether they want to open up their relationship or not. But the issue that arises is some people feel like if their partner comes to them and says they want to open the relationship, they think that that means that there's something missing in their relationship. That's why they want to open it. So what would you say to people that say that opening a relationship means that there's something missing in the relationship?
What I used to say is, is your partner your best dancing partner, your best friend, the best father you could have for your children, the person who's the plumber in the house, the person who gets the money in, who what else? What other roles do we have? Your best playmate, the best traveling partner, whatever. Keep on going. Whatever the things are that the roles that you need in your life to kind of feel like, hey, I've got all these different people in my life. So I don't think one person has to tick all these boxes. I think that's a over expectation. There are relationships that completely are monogamous and it works out and they love each other and they also invest a lot of time into the relationships. But and it doesn't even have to be the first relationship. Like for example, my father and my stepmother, they have a relationship where I'm like, they really invested so much and they still love each other and they tick a lot of these boxes. Um, but if these things are really missing, like to a place where it is becoming essential that you're saying I'm missing something in my life, then I think again, start first with a communication by opening up that sh- that conversation with your partner, because then you also feel yourself again. You don't have to put all these parts away because they're not allowed to be there. I think that's where it gets really difficult as soon, and especially the sex drive is a really strong force. It's a life force. So if we try to put that in the cupboard and close the cupboard, I think always it's going to come out at some point, but in the wrong way.
Right,
So kind of opening that up and communicating to the partner is just a way to integrate it. And then maybe that's already enough.
right.
And if
Excellent.
it isn't, then I think it's very important to have a negotiation. What are the things that your partner needs? Don't bring it too close to our family, or keep it safe. Or what other ones could be? Don't let me know about it, or do let me know about it. Let me know before you make a move. You know, all these things, like there's then this is so individual, and suddenly we have something we can work with. I think with gay people this is so much easier. They're so much more used to opening up a relationship, but with heterosexual people there's still this huge stigma around it. And I don't say it's the solution, but I really believe that a lot of monogamous relationships, they basically they go away and they, you know, have sex with other people, which I don't judge it, but maybe there is a way to actually stay truthful to your partner, because I believe one of the bases of a relationship is trust. And as soon as trust is broken, it's not going to go that far, or it's always going to be that pain or that grudge against the other person.
Excellent, excellent. Now, keeping the focus on heterosexual couples, because the audience is geared towards heterosexuals and heterosexual relationships. Um, Regardless of if a relationship is monogamous or non-monogamous, there can be jealousy within a relationship. For example, in a non-monogamous relationship, it could be you're spending more time with this partner than you're spending with me. And in a monogamous relationship, is it could be, I notice you looking at this person or speaking to this person, and it makes me feel a certain kind of way. So, in your opinion, like the person that's always feeling these feelings of jealousy, how can they start to deal with those feelings of jealousy? And how can a person that's been accused of things let their partner know that there's nothing to be jealous about?
It's a difficult question. I mean, I think it really depends also. We have to look at maybe different relationship types. So, are you secure? Are you avoidant? Or are you anxious? So, to look a little bit into there, what is your partner? Is your partner a secure partner? So, meaning when you say something like that, he will stay there and talk it out with you and tell you he loves you or she loves you. And in that way, comfort you. And in that way, you're like, okay, I've shared it. There's this fear, but I am getting love back. So I'm fine. I'm safe. Yeah. So is your partner able to make you feel safe? If he isn't or she isn't, why not? And then to see what are these relationship dynamics that you have in your relationship. I think that's really important to be conscious of that, because it helps us to look at our relationship and see, is it a good fit or not? It might not be. I could, for example, never really be together with a jealous person. For me, I mean, one part of jealousy can also be that you are insecure, but the question is, does the insecurity come because you're an insecure person, or again, because you're anxious? And then, is there a way to comfort you and to show you the love and make you feel secure so we can work with the anxiousness? Or is it something that is starting to take away the freedom of the other partner? And how much is the partner willing to, how do you say, compromise of their freedom for the relationship? So I think all of these things, it's good to look at them. It's nothing easy to figure out because we have these things from childhood, right? Like they're very, very, very inert. And I think it's good to somehow support each other to be the most secure we can be with each other, because that's going to be a happy relationship.
Right, for sure, for sure. Now, speaking about jealousy as well, like sometimes it's just the feeling that someone has, and they just need to like overcome it by being reassured. But sometimes there's some truth to it because something could have happened in a relationship. For example, infidelity could have happened in the relationship. So the feelings of jealousy, there was actually a reason for it. So, like when infidelity happens in a relationship, sometimes the some people will say that's it, we can never be together again, you've betrayed the trust, and some people will be like, okay, we can work it out with communication. So in your opinion, can a relationship ever get back to how it was before after infidelity, or would it just be like, even if they get back together, it can never be the same again? Or what is your opinion on that?
I mean, I think it depends. If there is trust and there is openness and there is very clear communication, and also the interest to be together and love each other and know that there is something that is much stronger than having had sex with another person. I think then for sure you can surpass it. I mean, sometimes we put sex on a pedestal, and that also has to do very much with religion. And it doesn't really help because if we always put it on a pedestal, how can we make mistakes? We can't because we judge ourselves and we judge our partners and we feel judged. Oh,
Right.
he betrayed me, so I have to, go through this whole crazy thing. Let's say you have a child and you actually love him and he's a good partner, but maybe because you had a child, you didn't feel like sex, so he helped himself or she helped herself. And that's the huge, horrible breakup because there's no way to get over it because it's so much drama and there's no way to excuse yourself and to see if something can heal. It can also go that way. And then I'm just like, let's also take sex off the pedestal. Why? There's so many mistakes we make in relationships, which might be much worse than having sex with somebody else.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So would you then say that like forgiveness after infidelity is something that can bring a relationship back? Like, can someone truly forgive after infidelity, or would they always have something that they're holding on to, in your opinion?
I think that depends on the person.
Mm.
And it depends also on how it was integrated and if the other person, you felt like the other person really explained themselves well and showed that there is this trust and there is this love and there is this commitment. Or if you feel like, I don't know, you kind of keep on spinning around, it doesn't matter who does, the person who had sex with somebody else or the person who, was the betrayed partner. If any of those keep on spinning it and bringing it up in the hot moments and be like, yeah, but you did this and I'm going to hold it against you, then probably it's not going to work out in the end, right? Because if you always get the same kind of thing and you're like, I excused myself 20 times, I explained it 20 times, and it doesn't seem like we can get over it. So no, then probably not. So I don't think there is a question of right or wrong. And I think it's very, very important for every person to really go into themselves and feel how it is for themselves without allowing their upbringing, society, all of these things get into the relationship that they are experiencing right now, because that doesn't help. That's not going to mend this thing. It's not going to help them for their future life. It's just going to be something they carry, which doesn't even really belong to them. It's just kind of something, we have so much shame, guilt around sexuality that that's where I feel like a lot of this thing about betrayal comes from. I mean, a perfect person to listen to is Esther Perel. She talks so much about it. She's written an incredible book around it. And sometimes I think we have to open the drawers and look inside them. And a lot of the time, also, it is a survival strategy. It is not something that is done against us. It is also done against us, like any person disrespecting another person. Yeah, it's one way of disrespect for sure. But it doesn't have to mean it was against the other person.
Right, right. Excellent, excellent. Now, looking at like brand new relationships now, when people get into a brand new relationship, they tend to feel a lot of butterflies, they really want to immerse themselves in this new person. They're really excited about this new relationship. But for some people, it's to the point that they start to lose their sense of self in the process. So, in your
Mm.
opinion, how can people immerse themselves in a brand new relationship without necessarily losing their sense of self in the process?
Beautiful question. Just gonna have a little thought about it. So, I mean, one thing about, the whole honeymoon is that you have these butterflies and you're also very open and you communicate a lot usually, which is great. It's good to keep that into the whole relationship. I feel like I've had that with my in my retreat with the women last time, how would I suggest it for a person? So I guess creating like me time, not using maybe every second and every moment. Like I wouldn't say this is right or wrong because I've also been in love and then you just want to spend every second with your partner. I guess keeping your own life, keeping your own life and taking care for your own life, whatever that means to you. How can I make it more concrete? Staying in contact with your friends, staying in contact with yourself, and taking that time for yourself to process things, to feel into it, to reflect on it. And maybe also keeping that loving relationship with yourself, whatever that means, you know, either it's your sports or also your self-pleasuring. That can be really important because a lot of people give that up because it all goes to their partner, which I get it. Nothing wrong about it. But at the same time, that is a way to kind of connect to yourself and create that space and not give it all over immediately to your partner. Ah, now this is your responsibility, or it's so beautiful with you. So you can do it all. So, it's a difficult one. Do you have an answer for it?
Yeah, I'd say like, the one person that you'd always be in a relationship with throughout your life is yourself. So you can never like neglect that fully. Even though you do want to immerse yourself into someone that you are really interested in, you have to remember that you are the one person that you'd always be in a relationship with. So yeah, that would be my take on that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like Anna, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everything that you've shared. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Where can people find you, find out more about you, and find out more about what you do?
So they can find me on my website, which is annasheer.com. It's my first and my last name. I'm also on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm called No.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We can see you.
Okay, perfect. So on Instagram, yeah, but now, yeah, there you go. On Instagram, I'm called Women's Pleasure Retreats because that's what I do in Tenerife. So I offer one-on-one retreats to come and to work with me as a coach, but also to see the beautiful island. And yeah, uh, it was also a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And for the viewers, Anna is also now with us on Mate Coach, so you can also find her on Mate Coach. And I will also be putting the links to all of her socials in the description, so you can get in touch with Anna and find out more about what she does. Once again, Anna, thank you so much for coming on. Any final words before we wrap up?
I really enjoyed this conversation. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I think one last one, maybe, I mean, what I tell the women is the more you touch, the more you feel. So if there's any place in your body that you want to connect to, just touch it with curiosity and love. And that will change the way you connect to that place.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.